Hello you, welcome to Geekism and welcome back to Planet Zoo where we're deleting stuff. Look at all this. This was a kangaroo habitat that never came to be a thing. It must have been when the Australia pack came out. It was rubbish. I'd look back at it and was like, yeah, this does not fit my style or this zoo style or whatever. It was, the last dregs of me chasing the YouTube algorithm. I don't know. I'm having a much better time just kind of building fun stuff that some of you seem to be enjoying, which is really cool. We mentioned in the last video badgers. It's all about the badger baby today. European badger. This is loosely based on Milwaukee County Zoo's American badger exhibit, actually, but I can't imagine there's that much difference between the requirements of an American badger and a European badger. Maybe somebody in the comments will surprise me, but and when I say loosely, I mean really loosely. It's basically just there's some rock work and there's a tunnel that they can go through, and that's kind of where the similarities end. The few badger habitats that I found online were all really quite dull, you know, as a lot of these sort of smaller burrowing type animals are. It's kind of just a dirt space for them to hang out in. They don't really need that much, and obviously zoos are there to provide welfare and care for the animals, but if all the animal needs is a big old pile of dirt and some trees and something they can dig and snuffle around, then it probably isn't really cost effective to spend that much more money on making it look cool for the sake of the clientele. You know, with the badger, obviously you're going to put a lot of money. You see zoos always advertise, new for 2022 Pride Rock Lion exhibit, or Asian Temple Tiger exhibit and all this kind of stuff. You don't see people advertising that they've spent $2 million on a badger habitat. So it completely makes sense that most badger habitats in zoos are relatively utilitarian in their design. But this is Planet Zoo, and whilst we're trying to do realistic-ish builds, you don't want to come and watch me make a dirt box. So we are probably building a little ostentatiously here for a small family of badgers, but I've still tried to keep realism at least somewhere in my mind. For instance, there you can see we've got that concrete filled pool. That design, by the way, that sort of method of having a flat pool and then just sort of angled edges with rock work going up to them. I actually got that from another awesome content creator called Simply Savannah, who I'm sure you're watching. She's one of the most sort of prevalent Planet Zoo players now. But if you're not already, make sure you go and check her out. Tell her Jonty sent you. We have actually become friends over the last while. We've started playing D&D together. That's all Masked Bandit's fault, by the way, if you're wondering why a good chunk of your Planet Zoo content creators play D&D now. It's Masked Bandit got us all into it. We actually play a couple of times a week playing D&D, which is great fun. But she does awesome builds. Again, a very similar sort of style to myself. Tries to keep a bit of realism in mind, but doesn't let it completely tie her down, which is definitely something I'm really focusing on as I move forward. Thinking about it afterwards, I think maybe a recolored aquatic rock might have been slightly more suitable here, just because that slight sort of fake look to them may well have worked better with the transition into the poured concrete here, which makes up the majority of the base of the ground. One thing I noticed in a lot of these zoo builds is whilst they do sort of have these like dusty dirt piles, it's very rarely actual proper dirt, because a lot of these animals burrow and it becomes very difficult for them to care for these animals, but when they can burrow into the dirt and end up maybe finding their way out of the zone. So it seems to be that the two fixes for this are either to basically build a huge concrete box in the ground that then gets refilled with dirt, so they are able to make their own burrows, but they're basically fenced in underground as well, or the other option is to give them more of a concrete substrate that has dirt and straw and sand placed over the top of it, so they still get a lot of that sort of interaction with that they need for their nails and their claws and stuff, to keep them being able to give them something that they can rummage around in, but they're not able to sort of truly burrow down, and instead sort of manufactured burrows are created, which is what we've done here with these sort of little caves you can see us building here. This sort of fake fake burrow space that they can go ahead and use. And then we're also doing an implied interior build for this one as well. I had real problems. The water disappeared for some reason and I just could not get it back. Eventually got it there we go. Yeah, we're doing an implied interior with this one eventually as well, so again there'll be space for them to sleep indoors. So yeah, I really like the tunnel that that was on its original image. Difficult to get a true sort of thin tunnel here because of the animals' hitboxes, which is fair enough. There is one tunnel I think in the game, I think it only really works for meerkat. There may be other animals it works for, but it's definitely too thin for this poor little badger to get through. It's like a wooden hollow tree trunk, I guess. We place it down in the meerkat exhibit, but here we built this sort of concrete tunnel that I think ends up looking really cool by the end of it. It does take us a fair bit of work here to get all of this working. I really wanted a couple of things here. I really wanted this tunnel, and I really wanted a tiered habitat here, so that the badgers do have a little space that they can get away, move away from the guests, but pretty much wherever they go there's going to be a good chance of the guests being able to see them because of this tieredness. One thing I'm finding tricky lately is if you want to get animals in this game to use any funky feature that you build, either with climbing. Oh, we're just hanging out here for a bit. I don't know why. Sorry. There we go. If you're building sort of climbing structures, or in this case, this tunnel that I'm building here, if you really want to get your animals to use it consistently, it has to be pretty much the only way they can get from A to B, else they just kind of ignore it. Their sort of pathing AI just chooses the easier option, which, you know, in many ways makes sense. But yeah, especially with the climbing animals, I really wish they would up the need for animals to climb. You know, I never want to see a lemur walking across the ground. They should always be up and, you know, hanging out in the trees, unless they maybe come down to eat. You know, it should be really built into their AI that they just want to hang out off the ground. I would really love them to see, or maybe I'm doing something wrong, I don't know, but I find that they only really hang out on the raised areas when they kind of have to use them to get from A to B. And we had the same problem with this tunnel. I could quite easily make it so that only the tunnel was the way from the higher level to the ground level. The problem then is that the staff can't get to the lower level, and it's obviously going to be instantly covered in poop, you know, dirty water, rotting food, all that kind of stuff. So the other fix would be being able to place multiple habitat gates into a habitat, so that the staff can come through one, deal with the one half of the space, and then come through another and deal with the other half. But it's very difficult to make a space that the staff can get through, but the animals can't. Therefore, that would be what created. You'll see here, like, I've had to sort of add this sort of slope off the back of the tunnel, which I don't hate. I think it looks fine, but it does mean that the badgers pretty much always use that slope to get down rather than coming through the tunnel. So yeah, I don't mean to complain. I think the actual pathing is pretty incredible in this game, really, especially with the staff, how they're able to move from the sort of node-based pathing system of the game that the guests use, and then come through that door, and then shift into using a more you know, sort of what do they call it? A star kind of method, where they sort of span out and figure out the best way to go. It's really quite impressive, it really is. But yeah, I feel like a tweak somehow so that we could make it so there are areas that the animals really need to use their sort of muscles and stuff to get over to. And also I feel like from a design point of view of an actual zoo, that's 100% something they'd be thinking about, right? Like, we want to get the animals moving around, we want to get them using their muscles and using their senses to get from one place to the other. So it'd be really awesome if we could make it that they were a bit more sort of agile and active in their movements, I think. So there you go, all the rockwork's done. Looks super brown. The foliage here really kind of makes this place. And I've gone for lots of sort of mulched areas with really heavy foliage in this one. I know we spoke about less heavy foliage on the guest side of things, but yeah, I wanted to really break up this massive rockwork. And again, I mentioned him in the other video. I've been watching a lot of Toast Plays, who does a lot of this sort of layered foliage that I was really sort of trying to get a bit of a feel for. He does it much better than I do, but it was definitely something that I wanted to sort of try and emulate here. And I had a lot of fun with it, and like I say, the foliage is really what makes this build to finish off with, to be honest with you. As far as that goes, that's about it, really. The badgers are happy enough. There's very little sort of enrichment items for them. I think I just put a tennis ball down, to be honest. I think that's kind of all they get. But otherwise, there's the 3 of them in there. They're kind of happy. I personally think that this space is kind of huge for some badgers. It's a little under what the game recommends, I think, and for that reason is why I placed 3 of them in there, just to kind of fill the space out a little bit. My original plan was just to have 1 European badger in here. But there you go, you can see them all pottering about there, enjoying their time in the new habitat. Thank you so much for the suggestions for badgers. Please keep letting me know what animals would you like me to see me do. I'm not really fully up on what's in the game now, especially with these new packs that I've been very kindly gifted from Frontier that I've missed in the sort of time I've been away. So make sure you let me know in the comments what you would like to see, especially if you think it will fit into this sort of slightly more budget conscious sort of British European style temperate zoo. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I can't thank you all enough for the positive feedback on the last couple. Now we're back making content. Going to be trying to do at least 2 of these a week. I think that's a fair sort of amount to manage without burning myself out. I am going to be moving house at the end of this month, so I'm hoping to be able to get some stuff together while I wait for the internet transfer over and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, there'll be more mention of that on social media and the channel closer to the time. Love you all to bits. Until the next one, be good.